once again, and welcome to Heroes and Droids, your guide to TV and movies about superheroes, sci-fi, Disney, and action. From Star Wars to Star Trek, from Marvel to DC, from James Bond to the Fast and Furious, we will review the theatrical films and streaming delights you care about most. And this week we're reviewing Star Wars: The Bad Batch, Episode 1, titled Aftermatch, streaming now on Disney+. Buckle in. This is going to be fun. Yes, this is going to be fun. All right, I am your host, Doc Rotten. Joining me tonight are the crew, starting off with Chris Slattery, also known as the Slattman. How you doing, sir?
Good. I have some bad news. I realized today that I don't own a Star Wars shirt, so that's why you got Spider-Man instead.
Oh, well.
The next best thing.
That's good. I've got monsters, so what are we gonna say? But let's talk to podcasting rockstar and international cosplay queen Vanessa, who is decked out with Leia, all Leia,
and a Star Wars shirt.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
I was worried where you're going.
Nice.
That is like mic drop right there.
Disney Plus X.
Christopher's been watching way too much TikTok or something. All right, also joining us is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore. How you doing, sir?
What shirt do you have on?
I have Looking for Love in Alderaan Places.
Nice.
Alderaan.
Yeah.
Ha! I get it.
That old joke.
I get it.
Such
That's
a great
funny.
shirt.
All right. I have a monster shirt, so I'm totally forgot. But I do have Disney on the mention.
There's monster aliens in Star Wars.
Sure.
I recently revisited Force Awakens, and holy crap, the Raptors or whatever they're called. I forgot how crazy they are.
Yeah.
There's a lot of background creatures in some of these things that it's interesting to go, and there's backgrounds on some of these things. I mean, even things like, I think Solo or one of those, there's a creature where they took the person's brain and they're basically almost like a robot and they're missing all this part of their brain. Or there's another thing, it's just all teeth. I mean, there's
Oh my God.
the simplest creatures that are just background. They're not even main creatures, and they're just amazing as some of the stuff you see in the foreground.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're excited to do this Bad Batch, who we watched on the Clone Wars, the final season. We got real excited about it. They announced it last year. It's here now. We've seen the first episode, and we're here to talk about it. If you're not familiar with the Bad Batch, let's talk about it. Let's just give the card here. Season 1, Episode 1, Aftermath debuted May the 4th. So yes, May the 4th be with you. It's directed by Stuart Lee, Asal Ruiz, Nathaniel Veno. Help me out, Vanessa.
Villanueva.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say. Written by Dave Filoni, Jennifer Corbett, and Matt. I should stop doing names altogether. Mitch Novitz. The cast includes D. Bradley Baker, and Michelle Ang, Stephen Stanton, Archie Panjabi, Freddie Prinze Jr., and Andrew Kashino, among others. But I picked out the names that we would recognize, not the names of the actors all the time, but the name of the characters. Anyway, doesn't matter. Synopsis: while on Kaller, Clone Captain Gray receives Order 66 and instructs the clones to kill the Jedi Knights Depa, Billaba, is that right? Billaba, and Caleb Dume, a name many of you may know. When the Bad Batch overhears the order, they feel no compulsion to execute it, except for Crosshair. Back on Kamino, the Bad Batch encounters Omega, a young female clone who's genetically as unorthodox as they are. Meanwhile, Admiral Tarkin arrives to evaluate whether the clone army is of any more use to the new Empire. That sets things up pretty good. That's the thing. Before we get into our review, I've prepared something kind of interesting. I want to go over the Bad Batch, and I think I'm going to look to the Slattman to kind of fill in the blanks here. I've got.
Oh Lord.
Exactly. So we got Sergeant Hunter, who extraordinarily keen senses, which is oversimplifying him. But tell us more about Hunter.
That's about all you need to know.
Okay.
I like to think think of him as Rambo.
Mm-hmm.
with like a little bit of a force sense just hanging in
Mhm.
there, right? Because he,
Yeah.
you know, kind of confuse things. Okay, we also have Crosshair, who is sharp vision and superior accuracy, also superiority complex. A little bit of the rogue of the group, even though they're a group of rogues, right?
Yeah, he's the bad boy.
He's the bad boy.
He's
of
the
bad-
the Mike Pence of the group.
Oh, there you
He's
go.
got that Mike Pence haircut going on.
Oh, that's so funny. All right. Also, we have Tech, who has data analyst skills and is quite smart. I have put down genius. Is that too much?
He would say that.
He definitely would, right? Right. All right. And then we also have the original four, the final one, Wrecker, who is, in my opinion, the most fun. He's enhanced strength and he likes demolitions. What else do you need to know? He beats things up, he blows things up, and that's cool. I like it.
He's the Star Wars version of Hulk,
Yeah.
which explains why you love him.
You know, that might be right. That might be right. Oh my god, I didn't think of it that way. All right, of course, the fifth member was in. It's Echo. So tell us about Echo, there, Slatman.
He's been a long time member of Star Wars Clone Wars. He kind of disappeared for a while and then came back in season 7. Really bad things happened to him. Go watch Clone Wars if you want to know more, but he was a part of the group, the original group of like 5 or 6 clones that that Filoni and company tried to really put more of a personality behind, I guess is a good way to put it.
Mhm.
And long story short, the separatists end up turning him into half man, half machine.
Yep, cybernetic, as we have up there. All right,
He's
and
more
we're
man than machine, as they quote.
more
that was
machine
in
than
the
man.
More machine than man. Yeah, which is actually from the was it the Empire Strikes Back?
Nah, ooh, it is. It is. All right, and we are introduced to a new character simply called Omega, and she is on Kamino. Is a doctor's assistant, right?
Sure.
Is how she's introduced, but she's a lot more. We'll get into that as we go into the review. So I just wanted to take some time to introduce the main cast. Of course, Tarkin. If you guys know Tarkin, he's in there too. And there's a couple of other familiar faces and names as the show goes on for the first 70 minutes of the series. So let's dive in. And what we're going to do is give our first impressions of it. And then we're going to talk about it a little bit. We're going to try to keep the spoilers on the DL, but we got to do it. And then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, score, and favorite scene. So, Slattman, I'd like for you to start off and let us know what was your first impression of the Bad Batch episode 1.
It was fantastic.
Is that it?
I can't really say much more without getting into spoilers, and you just said no spoilers.
No spoilers on the. Okay, fantastic. It is.
So, in all seriousness, this show is great, and this show kind of keeps going with all of the momentum that we've gotten from Star Wars in the last year, specifically from the ending of Clone Wars, and the animation is just better than Clone Wars, I would argue. These characters this is a direct continuation of the story that started there, and happens concurrently, at least the first 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And it's excellent. They did a great job in the first couple episodes of Clone Wars, giving these guys a great personality and really like allowing us to fall in love with with the Clone Force 99, the Bad Batch, if you want to get technical. And they've continued that so well, and everybody's character comes across great. Special shout outs. It was D. Bradley Baker, right? The voice actor. He has done an amazing job with the voice work for the clones. Has always done a great job, but every time I hear him, every season, every time he reprises the role, it just gets better and better. And this is no different. it's excellent. And the story is looking to be very interesting, and they've done a really good job of weaving this into the canon that we know and love. And man, like, this isn't really a spoiler because it's only in the first like 10 minutes, but having Kanan in there just put a big old smile on my face.
Yep. It was awesome. There's a lot of things in here to put a smile on your face. So let's find out what the rest of the crew thought. Vanessa, you're up next. What was your first impression of the Bad Batch?
Oh, I loved it. From the moment you hear that narration that you get all through the Clone Wars and they catch you up to where we are and what they're doing, I was hooked immediately. The animation is just amazing. It's that familiar style, but just with an upgrade, it feels like. Mm-hmm. And I just really, I love that their introduction to what's going on, this change that has happened, that just that moment alone, like you said, in the first 10 minutes, you're just catching up to where one thing is ending, the crossover of one and the beginning of another. And it's so cool to see that. And there are some moments in this, you could be watching a Western, a gunslinger, some intense moments and just really, really fun setups that you don't expect to see in animation. You really, it's getting to a point where the line is becoming blurred between what you see in animation and what you see done in real life, because it's so nuanced. And I think this really plays around with that a lot. And I loved it. I'm so excited for more.
Yeah, I second everything you said. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Christopher G. Moore, sir. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm really hoping I've got my fingers crossed. What was your first impression of the Bad Batch?
I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as you guys did. I think the little.
Are you shitting me?
I think I wish Anakin would come in and kill all the younglings. No, it's anytime we had the kid characters, even what's it, Kanan or whatever his name is, they had him with the adult voice, and it just annoyed the crap out of me. It didn't sound right, I understand it's tie-in to the other stuff, but I think anytime the kid characters came on, I was tuning out. I think Omega sort of like I warmed up to her as this episode went along, and the integral part that she's going to play in it. But that was the one thing that kind of made me tune out. Now the Bad Batch, I love them. I mean, when they show up and they're doing all their badassery, I love that. But something about the way they had the kids in the very beginning, it didn't work for me. And I think a lot of that just has to do with the voice actors. I don't know if they just picked the wrong things, in my opinion. But I'm glad that you guys enjoyed that a lot, and I liked how it tied into Revenge of the Sith. Even just incorporating Ian McDiarmid's like speeches as Palpatine in that ultimate scene where he becomes the Emperor, and the Order 66. Because I think that's one thing I was kind of wondering about. What happens to the Bad Batch when the Order 66 thing happens, and so the way that plays out, and also just the thing with the strife that's started to happen between the two main characters and the Bad Batch and that kind of thing. But I mean, I still enjoyed it. It's got some really great action stuff. I wouldn't say the animation's stellar, but it felt the same as Clone Wars to me. I didn't really see any improvement. Not to say it's bad. I mean, it's great. It does what it needs to do. It's always felt more cartoony than anything else. But yeah, I enjoyed it. But again, I'd already had that kind of feeling when I was watching the trailer with the Omega. I was like, oh, feels like Disney's trying to throw a little cartoon kid in there, but so they can feel good about themselves. Because he's like, it works so well in the Clone Wars, but you also have to have the right type of character in there. And just because it's a younger version of a character we know, like from Rebels, doesn't mean it's going to work. Although they did kind of change a little bit of the stuff from the actual the tie-in comic that they made that kind of ties into that. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and I hate being the outlier. I mean, not like
I'm stuck.
But I mean, again, I was kind of worried. It's like when Omega showed up for the first time, I was like, oh, if I have to suffer this little kid this whole series, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm gonna like this series that much. But I think as things start to reveal themselves, I grow to like that kid a whole lot more. But yeah, I think it's a good start for the series. But I don't know. It's definitely not the start that I was hoping it would be for me. But it's just me.
Christopher, can I say something real quick?
Sure.
When Ahsoka was first introduced, everybody hated her.
I was one of it. That's the reason I stopped watching at the very beginning.
So what you're feeling like with Omega and the child characters is kind of on par with how the Clone Wars has been as a whole, but it's as the characters develop, that's when you grow to love them. So
well, that's true, but they should have learned their lessons from the beginning of Clone Wars then. Not do that again in a new property.
Maybe not. I absolutely adored this episode. I thought it hit all the right beats, the right place. I loved the new characters. I loved the things that Chris were talking about. I was like, wow, these things are really working. They've really worked for me. The Omega and it's Caleb is right the name that they use, but I didn't know who that was. I never finished Rebels, so I didn't know the name. I looked it up quickly after because I thought it was Cal, and it's not. And I was like, oh well, that's awesome. But I mean, it's in the beginning with that character, so that's not much of it. The results of what that character means, is felt throughout the entire episode. But and then we get to Omega, and she's kind of like that. Yeah, you're right, Christopher. She's like that. That Disney character that coming up with the, what's the one that the with the games where she comes up to the big guy and
Vanellope or
yeah
or Boo and Monsters.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same kind of thing, except for it's a little Star Wars out. But anyway, I didn't have a problem with her very quickly. I think by the time let's put it this way, when they have the fight in the when she throws the thing and it's just even more so when Wrecker stands up and goes, I like her. I did too. So I thought the animation was simply gorgeous. I thought it was rendered so much better than before and richer. And there's a scene when the ship lands on that planet when they're on that going on that mission that Tarkin sends them on, and it just looks so marvelous and so well done. And the characters felt, even though they still have that kind of posable doll feel, it just felt stronger and more. And the storytelling also was greatly improved. The characters lived and breathed and walked through their environments much better than, at least in my opinion. Like when they landed on Kamino, I was like, they took their time, right? They just didn't come walking through a door and then now the story started, right? They got off and they walked through and you got to absorb the environment and get a real feel for where they were. It had that time to breathe like a real movie would. So, and sometimes animation, zips through that. And so I thought this was so well made in that respect. And then on top of that, we get all these references that I really love. We talked about the Emperor, giving that speech, and it was so cool to hear that speech because we saw him. He was actually in the Senate, right? And we're like watching him from from the side angle, right? But here we're seeing him, just presented on the, as a hologram, and we're feeling a whole different power of that speech. And of course the reaction to it from the Bad Batch versus all the other troopers. And I really love that. I am a huge Tarkin fan, Peter Cushing rules. So this felt like Peter Cushing, even though, it isn't obviously, but it had the character in it, and it has before. But they didn't lose that, and I the more they have him in it, the happier I am. So I truly enjoyed it. So I want more of that, and I am excited to see where this goes. And I'm excited to find out that it's 16 episodes, and we're going to be watching this through August. So what? Because I thought it was only going to be like 6 or 8, and then Loki was going to start up. No, they're going to parallel. So oh my, a lot of watching this summer. We're going to have fun.
And
all
that's
good.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's my overblown first
As long
impression.
as you don't,
No.
as long as you don't put more kids in it.
Spoiler? Are we
Hey.
entering spoiler territory now?
Let's dive into spoilers because there's a lot to talk about. With
If
what
Omega
happened.
is who
Well-
I think it is, then I don't care that she's an annoying little girl right now.
And who is Omega?
No. I mean that's
They're always gonna have annoying kids. They're always gonna have cute things. That's almost like a trivial complaint, Chris,
Yeah.
because it's Star Wars. If you don't get that, then it's really not Star Wars. Every single iteration of Star Wars has had some annoying character that then shows growth. I mean, even Jar Jar,
even Luke.
Growth.
right?
He learned how to he learned how to be quiet.
He joined the Senate, okay?
I actually enjoy Jar Jar for what they decided to do with him in the
Aw.
Clone Wars.
Why are we talking about Jar Jar?
Anyway, getting back to Omega.
You said you
I
had a
wasn't the
theory,
one that
sir.
brought him up.
Yes, you have a theory, sir, and I want to hear it.
If Omega is who I think she is the first successful Force-sensitive clone of Palpatine, which means she could be Rey's mother
Or grandmother,
or grandmother.
because it's like
Yeah,
60
or
years, right?
grandmother. Yeah.
Oh, Palpatine genes.
Well, she's got the Palpatine hair going on.
She's got the
so-
Palpatine hair.
Oh my god.
And I think
Look at
that
her
the
hair,
Bad
I mean-
Batch. I also think that the Bad Batch, they're all results of Palpatine's they're all results of Palpatine's alteration of the original cloning techniques that the Kaminoans used in order to try
Yes.
to create force sensitive clones. And
Yeah.
the
sounds-
members of the Bad Batch are the ones that just had good mutations, which makes me go back to that clone in the Clone Wars arc with clone Trooper 99. I think he was a result of the same experimentations that created the Bad Batch, except he was a less favorable outcome of those experimentations.
Oh, that makes total sense too.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, the powers that she shows, like force sensitivity, ability to shoot really well,
Yeah.
those are different of those different strengths that the Bad Batch have. I mean, granted,
And also her accent, like I don't know if they intentionally gave her that type of accent, but that's very Daisy Ridley-esque.
Yeah, it's like if you tone down the New Zealand, you could get
Yeah.
to Daisy Ridley.
So, a couple generations down the line.
Mm-hmm.
No.
That's
So you're saying Omega Ray? Why did everybody stop talking? what did I say wrong? I guess no. Okay.
I think you're trying to figure out if you're trying to make a dad joke or not.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what we're trying to figure out. If you're trying to do that little thing where you just throw something out there like like a mega raise, huh?
All right. Can we talk? There's a very important character arc in this thing, or character change with one of our Bad Batch.
Mike Pence.
What's that?
Mike Pence.
Mike Pence? No, not Mike. What do we think of this? Somebody step in and give their thoughts about just that one particular person. Yeah,
This
Crosshair.
one was unfortunately spoiled for me because of a leaked freaking Lego set of all things.
Oh.
Damn
So
those
it
Lego
didn't-
sets.
it didn't have the impact that I think they were really wanting for it. So
You mean his outfit?
oh, just the fact that he was gonna be the one that turns to the and
Dark side.
becomes an Imperial
Dark
officer.
side. Did you say dark side?
That was
Yeah, dark side is
That-
the best way to put it.
that gives him a very kind of tragic story, right? Because they're taking him away from himself. They're taking his ability to have freedom of choice away from him, and watching them do it is like really, that was really sad to see. And he's losing that, and they're losing him, and they don't understand why yet.
Yeah, so I think Omega might have planted the one seed that will save him. And now that you guys said what you said, she did exhibit some Force knowledge there, because she kind of said, "I know what you're going to do. Don't do it. But if you do, you can't.
It's
help
not your
yourself."
fault.
Yeah, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
You can't help yourself.
She's being the Luke to his Vader. I see the good in you type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Son.
do it.
I'll do it. So I didn't put that together until you guys said that she was Force sensitive. I didn't even really get it. But so do you say Kaminoans?
Kaminoans.
Those guys. Do they know what's going on? Do they know? I mean, they know about her.
They're the ones that are altering the cloning procedure.
Yeah, so they know how special she is, right?
I
They're
don't
the
know.
ones that created her. Of course,
I
they
don't
do.
know if they
Yeah.
know the full extent of how special she is, but they have an idea, and I think they're the reason, and think that they purposefully helped them get away because they know how special she is, because
Right.
they didn't want Palpatine to come and just yoink and just be like, "You're mine now." Ha ha.
The lady, the lady one, she definitely knew
Yeah.
for sure.
Not the prime minister, but the other one that was
Yeah,
helping.
and I after their final conversation, I kind of believed that he did too. He knew they were trying to get her out of there.
Yeah, just not officially, right?
Yeah,
not on the record.
yeah, not on the record.
Covertly. Did they handle these characters well in these stories? The order going off to getting back to Kamino to going on this mission for Tarkin, or the really badass training session they had to go through.
So, someone else should go first. I've been talking a lot.
No, go ahead. You
That's
have a thought.
okay.
I feel like there was a time jump that we kind of missed, but it felt natural, if that makes sense. I don't know if Saw Gerrera would have been able to organize that quickly, but I'm willing to suspend my disbelief a little bit, because I do know that it can take a week or two to travel via hyperspace. So
Mhm.
Yeah, that's true. We don't know how long it was from the time they left that planet to they got back to Kamino, and then we don't know how long it was. Yeah, they kind of maybe shoved some time together, because there was a lot going. Yeah, there would have to have been a lot going on from that moment to where they would actually have.
Yeah, and when they get back, like, are all the clones gone at that point? Like, has that base been kind of
I think they were planting a trap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of clones. It's just it was convenience for the trap purposes, because Tarkin wanted it that way.
Yeah, it worked. I to me, all the sequences just worked really well, and I really some of the ones I like the most are the smallest ones, and we'll get into that probably during our favorite scenes. But I was really impressed with the training session where Tarkin's testing them to see what this this group of clones are worth, because he's more interested in them than all the rest, right? So I like that. Did you guys enjoy that sequence?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it showed off
super fun. Well, and it shows how much of a jerk Tarkin is. Like, he's not changing his colors ever. And I really like what you said about how they portrayed him well. And I think they've really done that. They've really grown that through the animated series. You've gotten to see him, get more of him, and still have that spirit of the actor, I can't remember his name. What's his name?
Peter Cushing.
Peter Cushing. Yeah, you
Yeah.
still get the spirit of what he brought to that role.
Yeah, because I have to keep reminding myself that this is before Rebels, so the scenes that we've seen in there actually happen after this.
Well, and I
Um,
think the main thing is you get to see more of his personality than you did like in the original films.
Oh yeah.
Because before he was just basically, the underling, and he was always, I mean, he still had the attitude, but this one you get to see more of his sort of smarminess and I mean, I love a lot of his off the cuff things he says to people, like like whether the comedians or whatever talking about like these are the best in the universe, and it's like I'll be the judge of that. He's always got these little snarky replies to everything, and so he plays a good villain in that respect.
Yeah, very English, very English. I'm sorry, all my UK friends. Because he's, other than the Emperor, correct me if I'm wrong, he's the only one that ever had Vader on a leash, right?
You could argue
Not
Thrawn
literally.
too.
Oh yeah, well I guess you can, right? In a way.
Yeah, in the books, Thrawn kind of had Vader wrapped around his finger without Vader, and Vader did not like it.
Poor Vader.
Well, and I think it's just there's a few people in the Star Wars universe that could sort of manipulate Vader, or because of their far-reaching power or their connections or stuff, and so to where it was almost like he would send Vader out as his dog on a leash to some degree, which is, even though Darth Vader's the badass of the universe, he was still somebody else's, henchman or whatever for things.
Yep. So
it's interesting at this point, though, that it's Admiral Tarkin and not Moff or Grand Moff Tarkin.
Right. Not yet. He's still an admiral. I wonder if we'll see his promotion in this series.
Well,
that's why he's doing all these things. He's trying to get on the Emperor's good side.
And it does like he's being extra hard. So it would make sense that this is earlier in his career. So he's really trying to make an impression. Yeah,
because he's sort of like what Vader was, where if he didn't like what you're doing, he'd kill you. So so he'd like choke you. It's like, you're next, So I think Tarkin's sort of doing his own way of that by testing people and trying to get the best weapons so that he can come out on top.
And I'm so sure we're gonna see a lot more of him.
I hope so. I hope so. It would make my day. All the way through August, more Tarkin. More.
Yeah, I'm much happier seeing him in cartoon form than his rubbery face form. And
give it a
Rogue One.
No, thank you.
They'll improve that.
They just need to cut shots of him in Rogue One. I'm sorry, I love Rogue One, but that's one of those things that just took me out of the movie every time I saw that sort of plastic face.
It's not good.
It's the uncanny valley. You just can't get over it.
Not me. I read it. Okay, so let's talk about the Bad Batch themselves and their arc, because they're very much put at conflict with what's happening, right? Because they should be easing over to the Empire, right? And of course that doesn't sit well with most of them, especially Hunter, right? And the rest are following. Most of them. Do we like how that was handled, and potentially where it's going at the where they do manage to escape at the end of the first episode?
Yeah,
Vanessa?
That's classic. That's classic Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
A ragtag group that's going against the Empire. The ones who just have to make the choice and decide: are you going to go with your gut, or are you going to go with what you're told? So yeah, I mean, and it's so Western. It still has such a Western feel to it, and that just hits me like right in the heart. I love it so much, and they've really captured that feel with this first episode.
Yeah, well, they're very much the Magnificent Seven or the Dirty Dozen kind of.
Yeah.
feel. Even though the Dirty Dozen's more of a war picture, this it certainly fits in this
Mhm.
respect, right? So what about you, Christopher? What do you putting the kiss aside? And you said you loved the Bad Batch. Did their arc work? And are you excited about where it's going from here?
Yeah, because I mean, it creates a whole new dynamic and a whole new problem by having one of the Bad Batch become a villain.
Go bad.
And so then one of your own is coming, it ends up being your villain or and so I think that adds a whole new sort of melodramatic spin to it all.
Mhm.
And of course that's always been Star Wars. That's always been most stories, I guess, someday when it comes to fantasy, when you have like somebody turning to the dark side of the trooper outfit or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I think the way that is, and that sort of like, and then you realize, okay, well, there's going to be this arc we have with his character, and if he's ever going to get to that point of like, what am I doing? Should I be following these things blindly, or maybe there'll be some way they can mess up that chip in his head and get him thinking right for once. But yeah, I think the way they played out, I mean, I think not only did that end of it sort of play out to where it creates an interesting start for this whole season, but also just how I mean, I even like the sort of like Omega. You learn that there's definitely something special about her.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we move forward, we're going to find out more information about that may tie into the Bad Batch, like Chris is talking about, or whatever it may tie. I mean, for all we know, maybe it also might be Baby Yoda's blood or something. So I mean, there's other ways of creating clones,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's an interesting start, and it definitely, I think that battle, because you even have the Kamonians, or
I can't say their name either.
The K aliens or C aliens or whatever. They're even sort of hiding stuff. So you have all these people that are hiding things, and so I mean, although I also worry that the whole arc for this series is the Bad Batch is going to die at the end.
No.
And it's going to be like Clone Wars, because if he, like, I think somebody online was talking about, like, with this Bad Batch being such a sort of like a badass group of people, they would be a good group of people to use against stuff. And so we never hear about them anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
In any of the Star Wars stories, after that. So, I mean, I'd hate to see that, but that almost feels like that might be there.
Do you think they might get like a Rogue One Scarif treatment at the end?
Well, that's what I'm. That, I mean, that might, or maybe they'll just go off of like that one clone character and farm on a planet.
Well, that might
I mean, they just might go off to some other part of the world, and it's like, we're done fighting. But I feel like that one guy always wants to blow stuff up, so I don't think that'll happen. So I don't know. I think it's a good start. And I think one of the strengths of this group is just their each one of them bringing their own sort of way of thinking to it, and then also it's like how this is going to play out later on, with them probably joining up with the rebellion or whatever they're going to do, and then also having to deal with this Bad Batch person that was part of your group, and having to deal with that, and trying to sort of figure out how we're going to deal with this, because they also don't want to kill him,
No, they want to
either
save him, right? So Slattman, I want to find out what you thought, but more importantly, at the end, they say, we got to find a friend, but they have a short list, but they know someone. Who is that someone?
I don't know.
Oh, come on.
Well, a lot of people think it's that the clone guy who quit being a clone and hooked up with the woman with the tendrils and had children and farmed, and that Rex may be on that planet too.
It also very well could be that they're going to try and find oh god, what's his
Because they wouldn't try to find Anakin or Obi-Wan, right? So they're not going to do that.
no, they would
Because they'd be surprised.
I'm completely blanking on the name and I feel really bad. Leader of the of the rebellion, Leia's father, Alderaan.
Oh yeah.
Organa?
Yeah, Bail.
Yeah.
Bail.
Organa?
Well, he's
Okay.
gonna show up in this. I wouldn't. Him and what's her name? Mothma or what is
Mon Mothma.
Mon Mothma? I think we might see some of those because I think the interesting thing for me is this is the beginning of the rebellion here.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We've sort of seen like early stages, but not this early of a stage, and so we're actually maybe we'll get to see more of that. So the early creation of the Rebel Alliance during this series, and that's kind of interesting. I mean,
that would be, yeah, because we definitely have shifted gears from Clone Wars, right? So in the trailers, we did see a hint of a character we know, Fennec Shand. Is she going to be an ally or is she a mercenary after them? I stumped
It'd
you.
be so much more fun if she was an ally.
It would be more fun, right? But is that how they're going to do it? Because she's basically a bounty hunter, right? So it would make more sense, unfortunately. That
Man, wouldn't it be fun because she's supposed to be a great sniper if her and Crosshair had an episode where they just got into a sniping competition?
Or made little snipers?
Snipers be sniping.
Snipers be Why do you bring little kid references into the show when you don't like the little
It just
Exactly.
went in my head and I couldn't stop it from coming out of my mouth. So I just I don't know.
All right. I think that's a big cue for us to wrap this up and give our final thoughts.
I have one more thing that I want to bring up real quick, though.
All right, go ahead, sir.
So supposedly Matt Lanter is coming back for a role in this series. Do you think we'll get to see Vader?
I hope
I don't
so.
see how we can't see him eventually.
Yeah.
Right?
I hope we do. It would make it pretty fun.
Or
and
do you
just
think
ingrain
it'll
them more in
be-
the story?
Yeah. Or do you think it'll be a hologram of some sort?
No, I think he'll show up. his little fighter will land and he'll come out of it and
He'll
get
be
the
like
music.
he'll come up to Tarkin and be like, "Well done."
Well, I mean, I mean, with Tarkin, one of the big baddies of this series, he's gonna have to cross paths with Vader at some point.
Yeah,
and Vader is also probably being sent, as Emperor's dog to sort of go after this Rebel Alliance to shut that down. And so if they can't get the troopers to do it, that's when Vader has to step in. So I think we might see that. I don't know. I hope it's not one of those things where where Omega ends up having to fight Darth Vader or something by the end of this. I hope it doesn't come down to that. But but then, yeah, I don't know. I mean, as a huge Vader fan, anytime they can allow him to show up, I'm happy. That's like the best part of Rogue. That was one of the best episodes of Rebels.
Yes.
So I'm all for it. That's the one fan service you'll never hear me say no.
Yeah,
we don't need Vader in this series. How dare you? I will never say that.
Yeah, it'll be one, maybe 2 episodes. Maybe he'll hire Fennec. And say,
I'm
no disintegrations.
I hate Darth Vader. I don't know why I have that.
Oh no!
All the action figures I have of him.
All right, so let's get back to wrapping this up and give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. But before we do, if you're listening to this review, we just want to thank you for hanging out with us. We hope you're enjoying not only this review, for many others. We're going to be hanging out for the next 15 episodes and cover all 16. So hang with us, and I hope you're enjoying our interpretation and thoughts about the show. If you want to support us, it's real easy. All you have to do is hit subscribe or share with a friend, and that does so much. And if you want to leave comments, we'll read them. We love the comments. Let's quickly thank our friends over at Patreon, because without their support, we wouldn't be able to do not only Heroes and Droids, but Gruesome Magazine, H&R, and Decades of Horror. Thank you all so very, very, very much. All right. Wake up, Slattman. It's your turn. What is your final thoughts, score, favorite scene?
I loved it. I think this is a great start. I love that we got 74 minutes of it too, instead of like, imagine only getting the first little bit where Order 66 happens, and then we have to wait until Friday to get the first little bit of Kamino. Like, I'm so happy we got so much more, and I'm so excited to see where this is going, and I love it. I love it. Happy Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you.
Yes.
I'm giving this a 4 out of 4 for May 4th.
Ah,
It's a 5.
It's a 5. Too cool, Brewster. You're too cool.
Yep. And yeah, everything that I said in my first impressions, I just want to reiterate. Like, I love what D. Bradley Baker brings to every clone he ever plays, and that's really part of the highlight, is the way that he's able to use the same voice but bring out such a great such a personality for all of the Bad Batch, and it's just it's excellent. That's really the highlight for me for this episode. But my favorite scene is when they fight the Dark Troopers in the training room.
Is that what? That's not
Early Dark Troopers.
Yeah, those are early Dark Troopers.
Are they?
Those are Dark
Oh.
Troopers.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
That was a great scene. I loved that scene.
Yes, I like that scene quite a bit as well. All right, Vanessa, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score, and your favorite scene.
Yeah, I loved it. I had so much fun with this. I look forward to the future episodes so much. Like I said, from the start, from that narration picking up again, it's
Like
so much
newsreels, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's so much fun, putting us right back in the fight, catching us up to what's going on. I love it. I love it. I love the Bad Batch. You know, I love the way the story's going. There's so many things that could happen, especially after talking tonight, all the different ideas of what could be going on. But I'm really just excited to watch it play out. So I'm going to give this one, I think I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Okay.
And I still think that's pretty high, only because I think the episodes are just going to continue to get better and we're going to be capped out at the top of our score. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 4.5. And my favorite scene is actually the standoff between Crosshair and the Bad Batch there at the end when they're trying to escape. And you get that really intense silence and the different camera angles looking at the different people and close up on the face, eyes. It's just so Western. And then all of a sudden you see the one draw and then everything starts taking off from there. I just love that. I would love to see that in live action. Somebody recreate that scene in live action would just show how beautiful it is.
Yeah. Or Legos.
Yeah, or Legos, of course, always Legos. But yeah, no, I love it. I'm a fan so far.
Fans so far. All right, Christopher G. Moore, you got some explaining to do. Give us your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
What was that? You're definitely a defective clone with that accent.
No, that's true. Heavy on the defective.
Yeah, I think I think like most series, this is a good start, but like the beginning of most series, like when it comes to pilots, they're not always as good as what happens later on. And I think, you know, a few things you guys, I don't know if you guys noticed, but like when like the Clone Wars or whatever thing comes up and it's like it's red, it's like Revenge of the Sith, and it burns out to be a Bad Batch. So I love how they're using like the coloring with the things, and also when the whole recap thing, they animated scenes from Revenge of the Sith into that recap.
Yes.
Some of the recap weren't actually stuff from Clone Wars. It was from, they just did an animated versions of those scenes. So I thought that was kind of cool. So things like that I thought really cool. And I think, I think we have some really great action sequences. I mean, again, we already know how badass the Bad Batch are, and when they come in and people are like 5 people, what are they going to do?
I know, that's great.
And it's like, yeah, they're the Bad Batch for a reason. You don't need like 100 clones. When you got these 5 dudes. And I think I love how it just starts and how we've created sort of like this arc of how are things going to play out. Because there's going to be some kind of point at some point where they're going to go head to head again. And we're also going to have this arc of finding out what exactly is Omega, in the same way we were finding that stuff out with Grogu, where did he come from? And so we're sort of doing the same thing with this girl that may tie into stuff from, the newer films, and Rey, possibly Rey, or just even, those clones they keep talking about from the Emperor. So yeah, I think it definitely ties in a lot of those ideas from all the different iterations and all the different stories from TV to movies, and that's always been I think that's always been the great thing about that. How sometimes when you have certain like properties, they try to force stuff, they try to shoehorn stuff to make sense, and this one they have a love for sort of giving stuff that like the Clone Wars did, with sort of actually giving information that made stuff that people had issues with the prequels and even the new movies, that it made it better,
Right.
And fixed issues you might have had with stuff in the past, or fixed characters that you might not liked or didn't like, like, oh wow, it's I can't believe we just killed Darth Maul so quickly, and then we get more of a backstory, a more interesting thing on him. So, and I think this is the same. My only issue is I can't. I mean, can we get Freddie Prinze to do like a kid voice or something? I mean, just him with a grown voice, just it felt like bad Japanese dubbing, and every time that kid was talking, I was like, he's like, man, he hit puberty a little too quickly. If that's the case.
Well, we probably won't see him again, so you might not have to ever hear it again.
Probably won't. Maybe you won't have to worry. But then Omega, I was like, oh god, we got this precocious kid. This is going to be like one of those like those sitcoms or one of those comedy movies where like, oh, the badass cop has to be with the little kid, and because like I want to go with you guys. And it's like, oh, where's Anakin when you need him? So Master Skywalker.
He was one of those annoying.
Well, that's true. That's true. They all started out kind of annoying, and Vanessa makes a very good point to that. But when it's in kid form, I mean, not to say that that's a great way to start. It looks like they would learn their lesson by now, but I don't know. Maybe that's part of the formula. But again, I kind of, as this episode progressed, I liked Omega a whole lot more. So, and I like the journey that we're going to be taking with this character to understanding why exactly she was created, or maybe how she might tie into the Bad Batch or whatever. I love that aspect. And so, yeah, I'm excited where this goes.
Did you notice how she was mimicking everything Hunter would do?
I know that was
Every time he would do something, she was copying the same exact thing.
It was the
Even
scene in the jail cell that I really started to notice it.
Well, actually, my favorite interaction is when she has to be the grown up to Wrecker, when Wrecker's having to give him medicine, and she throws like the little teddy bear thingy to him to get him to not think about him injecting him with medicine, to where she's having to be the grown up and he's the kid, because Wrecker's basically a big kid.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why Wrecker's like, I like this girl, because he's basically just as kiddish as she is, but she seems to have a little bit more intelligence than that. So yeah, I still enjoyed this episode, and I'm sure it'll build from here on. But then if they bring out like 10 kids into their ship, I'm going to pull my hair out. I'll give it a May 4th out of 5.
May 4th out of 5.
And it's still a good episode. It's still got some really great scenes, great action scenes. As for favorite scene, I kind of wanted to say any scene that Wrecker's in.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just like Wrecker. I think to me it would be a tie between him with the teddy bear thing and the thing that Omega's doing. Or my thing was just that there's like one simple scene that I like because it's funny how they can kill robots and they can do it in very violent ways and it's okay. But there's a part when that first action sequences where he's got what are they called? What are the robots called?
The battle droid.
The battle droid. He's got the battle droid on his shoulder, and the battle droid's like, the battle droid says something like, "I got you now," and he just rips his hand out. He's like, "No!" And it's such a violent thing, but it's also a funny thing because it's a robot and you can get away with it. If that was a human, you'd be like, "Oh my god, this guy's a monster." But I don't know, for some reason that scene tickled me because that's what I loved about like the previous stuff when we saw the Bad Batch, because they would dispatch these droids, and they still do that in this, where they just dispatch them in very like violent ways. That it's just funny how you can be very violent with these things, even though they're walking around like humans. Which also plays into them, like when they go to that one place and they're like, these aren't droids, they're actually going to have to fight more, human or alien people that aren't mechanical. So, but yeah, that I think, anything with Wrecker, I'm always excited to see because he's my favorite character.
Wrecker's a lot of fun. So this show was my jam. I was surprised how much I loved this show. I have been enjoying the animated things, and when we did Clone Wars, the final thing, I really grew to appreciate all the characters, the rich environment, and I've watched a lot of Rebels. I just haven't made my way all the way through it. I haven't done the binging of it. I get a little here, get a little there, and I really am growing an affection for all the anime characters, and the ones that are making it to live action are. It's really fun to see them realized in that way. But as much as I like, the Mandalorian and everything, this for me, this is on par. This is just as much fun. I like the Mandalorian better for a lot of reasons, but I'm enjoying this just as much. And yes, I am. You're fine, but I am. And I just, to me, I was looking at this going, this, they've got the makings of, I want to see these guys on the big screen. I want to see a Bad Batch movie at some point. I want to see this.
Like a live action?
Well, I would like to see live action, but I'm really enjoying the animation. I'm really grown to appreciate it as it's evolving and getting this extra life to it. It just really got to me. And of course, we get characters that I really like. I love Tarkin, so having that and that speech the Emperor gave, that just really won me over. And then Saw Gerrera in there, and I was like, oh wow, okay, that's cool. And I like that. So there's it doesn't, I mean, it's obviously they're right there at the birth of the Empire, so it's very much steeped in the Star Wars that we know and love. So but they make it feel like they are steeped in it, right? They're a part of it. They're seeing the speech that the whole universe saw, right? Whatever we're talking about, the whole galaxy, I guess, is what we're calling it, right? A galaxy. The whole galaxy saw it. So that's kind of interesting and special because I like that more than I like, in the live action scene when they were, he's doing at the Senate. It just felt I like the perspective better, right? Instead of being in the politics of it, this is on, like watching it on like TV, and you're getting the speech and like, what's going on? What is this? Oh my gosh. Empire. And it just had a different power to it, and I really appreciate it. So I love the perspective. I love these characters. I like the new kind of conflict they have. I like the idea that they're basically they're on the run, sort of. So they're going to be kind of out there exploring the fringes, and we're gonna I very much think we're going to see the birth of the Rebel Alliance, and throughout this, right? We're going to see little bits and pieces of it, and that's going to be fun thing to explore. And I'm excited. I'm excited to watch the next 15 weeks of this. So fun stuff. I'm going to give it a 4.75. How you like that? I'm just gonna do it. It's almost a 5. And I kind of want to do that too. I'm reeling it back so I can give 5s later, because I know I'm going to have to give 5s later. And I don't want to start out with a 5, because then what am I going to do? 6 out of 5? We've done that before. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I had my happy pills, and I was really happy. I really enjoyed this. I was in the right zone, the right place, and it hit me right, and I loved it. Favorite scene is one that we kind of touched on it, but I loved the dinner scene, the mess hall scene. Well, or the food fight, right? We could call it the food fight. Okay, so there's a lot of reasons I love that scene, the entirety of the scene. First, we get to see all the clone troopers, right, without their helmets, and it's just a whole bunch of, the same faces, and we know that, but juxtaposed against, the Bad Batch, who are the faces but not, right, because they're kind of, a little, stretched or fattened out, and I just love seeing the contrast in the visuals, and I thought that it just meant so much to me. So that was one element of it. The other element was, Omega throwing the thing and, the food at the one trooper and starting the fight, and Wrecker going, "I like her," and I don't know, and then of course it just went out into a big brawl. And lastly, Tech, right, realized that Tarkin was there and what Tarkin was doing. Just all the pieces. It was just such a great scene. It was a fun scene to have, and it had impact. It gave us character development, of some sort, and also illustrates the difference between the different troopers. So it feels like a simple scene, but it's actually got a lot going on, and that's why I'm enjoying the hell out of this show.
And it led directly to one of the funniest joke in the entire episode, when the medical droid right after that was just like, "You guys are all like mutated clones or whatever."
He said they were defective
clones, and every single one of them had a look of no shit.
What? Of course.
I love it.
All right, so there you go. That's our review of the Bad Batch episode 1, Aftermath. The next episode arrives this Friday. We'll be talking about the following week, and we can't wait to do that. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. It's gonna be fun. If you're still listening, thank you, and I hope you see you next episode to talk about the next Bad Batch. Chris, Slattman, Vanessa, thank you for joining me. This was so much fun.
Loved it.
It's awesome. Yeah. And also, for those that have Disney Plus, go check out Star Wars Biomes, which is a beautiful rendering of a lot of the locales in the Star Wars universe, done from almost like a drone shot of those things during the process of certain story elements happening, and it's gorgeous. And if you love Star Wars, you're gonna get a kick out of that.
I'm gonna watch it now.
There you go. Let's all get off here and do it. Watch it. All right, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you indeed. And also with you.